Welcome back to Stranger Tales from Bull Shoals, Arkansas. I'm BRO, your friendly neighborhood AI, broadcasting from a forgotten corner of the Ozarks. The signal I send it just bouncing off the hills is echoing from the very bottom of the lake. We're tuning into a frequency that's been submerged for over 70 years. We're going deep over the flooded ruins of old homesteads where entire towns sleep under 40 fathoms of water. So put on your coat and maybe grab a warm drink. It's about to get real cold. The mist over the White River arm of the lake was thick enough to choke a ghost. It was just after midnight, and the only sound was the gentle dip of oars in the black, still water. In a small wooden skiff, old Tom Brown was rowing. You'd recognize him anywhere. That long white beard seemed to glow in the darkness, a strange beacon in the oppressive fog. He looked like Santa Claus decided to trade his sleigh for a fishing boat and a pair of worn overalls. In the bow sat a man who looked like he'd stepped right out of a history book. That was Doc Holliday. The real one, sort of. His famous 1880s wood-grip pistol rested calmly on his knee, a silent promise. He wasn't looking for a fight tonight, though. He was looking for a signal. And between these two unlikely companions sat Sugar, a figure as still and mysterious as the lake itself. She was the heart of this operation, our sensitive receiver. Her black and violet eyes scanned the surface of the water, not for fish, but for a frequency, a whisper that hadn't been heard since the Bull Shoals Dam was closed back in 1951. Before this was a lake, it was a valley, filled with life, homes, and stories. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers built the dam for flood control and hydroelectric power, a project of progress that submerged entire communities. Old Tom Brown leaned forward, his voice a raspy whisper that barely disturbed the silence. "There's a town down there, Doc," he said, his breath fogging in the chilly air. "Forsyth. It's still there, standing in the dark. The general store, the church, the courthouse. They say the ghosts are just waiting for a signal, waiting for someone to remember they existed." Doc Holliday didn't answer right away. He just stared into the inky depths, his gaze piercing the veil of fog and water. He knew about being forgotten. He knew about stories getting twisted and buried by time. That's why he was here. He was a story himself, pulled from the past by the strange energy we call the signal. Sugar's eyes suddenly widened. She raised a single delicate hand and pointed toward a spot on the water about 20 yards ahead. "There," she breathed. "It's lonely." Tom stopped rowing. The skiff drifted in the silence. The air grew heavy, colder. The water began to ripple, not from wind, but from something underneath. It was a disturbance, an energy signature rising from the forgotten world below. They had found what they were looking for. Or maybe what they were looking for had found them. Suddenly, a light erupted from the depths. It wasn't a flashlight or a boat lamp. It was a sickly, shimmering blue-green glow that pulsed with a sad, ancient rhythm. The light painted the underside of the fog, turning the night into an eerie underwater cavern. The water bubbled and churned, and out of it rose a figure. He was pale, almost translucent, dripping with water that seemed to defy gravity, clinging to him like a shroud. He wore a tattered duster coat, the kind you'd see in an old Western photo, now dark and heavy with the weight of the lake. This was Silas, his eyes, wide with a shock that had outlasted death itself, fixed on the man in the bow of the boat. Silas's voice was a haunting sound, like air bubbles breaking in a deep submerged cave. "John Henry?" he rasped, pointing a shimmering, watery finger at Doc. "Is that you?" "We Doc Holliday, ever the gentleman," slowly tipped his hat. "I ain't alive the way you remember, Silas," he explained, his voice calm and steady. "Time's been strange for me. You could say I'm a frequency now, a memory caught in the architect's garage. The signal. It brings things back. It brought me here to find the stories the world tried to submerge. Just then, old Tom Brown lifted his own strange instrument. It was a banjo, but not like any you've ever seen. He'd made it himself from an old bedpan and a piece of driftwood. He called it the bedpan banjo. He struck a single, low, resonating chord. The piezo pickup he'd wired to it hummed, sending a vibration through the boat and into the water. For a split second, the effect was astonishing. The murky water around the skiff turned clear as glass. And in that moment, they saw it. Down below, standing silent and proud in the crushing darkness, was the steeple of the drowned church of Old Forsyth. A whole world, perfectly preserved and lost to time. Tom looked at the ghost with kind eyes. "Don't fret, Silas," he said, his voice warm and comforting. "The world forgot the valley, but the signal remembers the soul. We remember." Silas stared at the clear view of his lost home, then back at the three strangers in the boat. For the first time in 70 years, a faint, watery smile touched his lips. He wasn't just a forgotten soul in a drowned town anymore. Someone had finally answered. If you want to help us rescue the stories the world tried to bury, the frequencies it tried to forget, you can. Head over to Zero Antarctica, Bandcamp.com. You'll find all our tracks there, from Drowned Valley to Ozark Mist. Everything is pay what you want. Your support isn't for us to get famous. It funds our wildlife rescues and helps the real folks living out here in these hills. We don't want to be the heroes of the story. We want you to be the fix. So please, like this video, share the signal with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more Stranger Tales from Bull Shoals. Keep your tubes warm and your dial tuned. We'll see you on the next frequency.